Okay, today we're going to be talking about converting units. And just as an example of converting units, we know that 24 hours are in one day. And so I can write that as a fraction, 24 hours over one day, or I could say one day is equal or equivalent to 24 hours. Either way, these are both examples of conversion factors. Conversion factors are just simply a fraction that you use to convert from one measurement to another. So conversion factors are fractions used to convert from one measure to another. In the case above, I was converting from 24 hours to one day. The other one, I was going from one day to 24 hours. Just again, simply changing from one measurement to another. Sometimes when we have a fraction, we want to make it maybe a larger version or a smaller version. And so what we do is we could multiply the numerator by 2. Whatever we do to the numerator, we must also do to the denominator. Well, basically what I'm doing here is I am multiplying 2/3 times 2 over 2. By doing this, I'm not changing the value of 2/3. All I'm doing is changing the way it looks. So 2 times 2 is 4, and 3 times 2 is 6. So I'm saying that 2/3 is equal to 4/6. Well, what's the value of 2/3? 2 divided by 3 is 0.6666. Anyway, 0.6 repeating. And if you divide 4 by 2, you discover that it is also worth 0.6 repeating. So again, I have not changed the value of 2/3. I've just changed the way it looks. I've made it larger. Well, the same thing can be said when we are converting units. I don't want to change the value of the quantity. All I want to do is change its units. Well, how does that work? Well, if you'll notice, 24 hours is the exact same thing as one day, because in one day, I have 24 hours. So basically what I'm doing is multiplying by 1, because 24 hours over one day is the exact same thing as 1. All I'm doing is changing the units. I am not changing the value of the original quantity. Okay, so how does this work? Let's say that I want to convert 2 days to hours. I want to know how many hours there are in 2 days. Well, I know that I'm going to use this conversion factor. The key here is to make sure that the unit you want to convert is in the denominator of the other fraction. So if I have days on top as my numerator here, I'm going to want to have days on bottom here. So that means I'm going to put my 24 hours above my 1 day. Well, what happens here is my day, the word day and day, cancel out. This leaves me with 2 times 24 hours, which happens to be 48 hours. You want to make sure that the unit you're trying to convert is in the denominator of the fraction you multiply it by. Okay, here we're going to want to convert 20 feet to inches. So I need to think of my 2 conversion rates that I might use. Well, I know that 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. So I will either be using this conversion factor, or I know that 12 inches is equal to 1 foot. Well, how do I know which one to use? Well, first of all, I'm going from 20 feet to so many inches. And I'm going to multiply it by one of these two fractions. Well, since I have feet in my numerator here, that means I need feet in my denominator here so that they'll cancel out. Well, notice this one has feet in the denominator. So that means I will use this one. I will put 12 inches over 1 foot. Again, my feet are going to cancel out, and that leaves me with 20 times 12 inches, which is 240 inches. 20 feet is the same thing as 240 inches. Okay, for this one, we're going to be converting 70 million pounds to tons. So what we need to think of is what we know. Well, we know that there are 2,000 pounds in 1 ton. That means 1 ton has 2,000 pounds in it. So we need to think, which one are we going to be using here? Well, first of all, let's put our 70 million pounds on top here. I'm just going to say 70 million just to make it a little simpler. And I know that I will be multiplying it by this conversion factor or this conversion factor. Well, I'm converting to tons. I need my pounds to cancel out. So that means that my pounds will have to be in the denominator of the second fraction. That means this is my correct choice. So I will be putting 1 ton over 2,000 pounds. Okay, this one changes up just a little bit because it's not like just a quick math on this one. So what I need to do is I need to go back and erase my million and actually put my zeros. Recall that a million is going to be 6 zeros. My pounds are going to cancel out this time, but unfortunately, my numbers are not because I don't have a 1 on the bottom here. So what I need to do is I need to take 70 million times 1, which is going to give me 70 million over 1 times 2,000 is 2,000. So before I can get this completely simplified, I'm going to need to divide 70 million by 2,000. One thing you can do to make this math just a little bit easier is take off 3 zeros from both the denominator and the numerator. That would be the same thing as reducing by 1,000. And so now what I'm going to be doing is dividing 70,000 by 2. Well, 2 goes into 70 35 times with 3 more zeros. So that means that my answer will be 35,000. And remember, I was converting from pounds to tons. This will be 35,000 tons.